Basically, I'm going to be doing a tier list for all the Hex perks in Dead by Daylight. They're pretty good. Like, all the Hex perks are pretty strong for the most part, with a few exceptions, but I don't know what it is. I can't use Hex perks well at all because they always get wiped off the face of the planet, but let's just hop straight into this. First of all is going to be Hex Blood Favor. Whenever a survivor loses a health state by any means and thus enters the injured state or the dying state, Hex Blood Favor calls upon the entity to block all pallets within a 32-meter radius of that survivor's location from being pulled down for the next 15 seconds. So this one's pretty good. It's not that great. Definitely not S tier. So they lose a health state and it blocks a pallet for 15 seconds, which in all honesty should be enough to seal the deal or to score another hit on another survivor and make them abandon the pallet, go to a different area. I would say pallets are like, it can be good in situations with like a god pallet, but pallets aren't really that big of a deal in my opinion. Like, you know, I guess I do play projectile killers more, but I'd put it like B tier, like middle of the road, you know, not too crazy. Up next is Hex Crowd Control, a hex that ensures those lesser than you are properly herded. Survivors who perform a rushed vault through a window prompt the entity to block it for the next 20 seconds. So, I mean, same thing with Hex Blood Favor, really. I mean, Bamboozle's a perk, and, you know, it's kind of the same thing. I think I prefer the Bamboozle perk better. So I'm going to throw this one at C tier. I've never seen these two perks. No. I have seen Blood Favor ran before. I haven't seen Crowd Control ran before. Usually, the only window blocking perk I see usually, well, the most is Bamboozle, because that also lets you go through faster. So you get two benefits right there. Next up is Hex Devour Hope. I think everybody knows Hex Devour Hope. This one's a really good one. I'm going to put this one straight into S tier. A hex rooting its power on hope. The false hope of survivors ignites your hunger. Each time a survivor is rescued from a hook when you're at least 24 meters away, Devour Hope receives 1 token. 2 tokens is 10 seconds of haste, of 5% haste after a survivor's unhooked for the next 10 seconds. 3 tokens is survivors suffer permanently from the exposed status effect, which is incredible. Like 3 tokens is game changing. I mean, 2 is game changing, but 3 is really something. That's crazy. And then 5 tokens, you're granted the ability to kill all survivors by your own hand, which is also pretty crazy. From what I know, you don't even need to have them, like, downed once, you know. I guess you do need 1 down, but, you know, you don't have to have them hooked once is what I'm saying. You guys scroll down here. Next up is a pretty good one. I don't think a lot of people really care for it, but I like it a lot. It's Hex Haunted Ground. 2 trapped hex totems will spawn in the trial grounds. When either hex totem is cleansed or blessed, all survivors suffer from the exposed status effect for 60 seconds. The second hex totem will immediately turn into a dual totem. So I think this one's pretty cool just for the fact that usually when they see a lit totem, like, it's pretty hard to resist doing a totem, I think, in my opinion. Whether there's a super strong perk up like Ruin that's destroying your generators or not, like, even just seeing a lit totem, it kind of puts you on edge. You have no idea what it is, really. So you usually don't want to take the chance of letting it go. But then there's always the fact that it could be Haunted Ground, and you just got your team to be able to be one-shot for a solid minute straight, which isn't fun. I would put Haunted Ground at, I'd say a solid A tier. Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Do I want to do A? I'll do B. Because it's just an exposed status effect for a minute. I mean, killers like Michael Myers, they pretty much have this at all times for their tier 3. So, you know, it's kind of like, eh. Up next, we don't even need to read this one. This is a Hex Huntress Lullaby. A hex rooting its power in despair. Your hunt is an irresistible song of dread which muddles your prey's attention. Survivors receive a 2, 4, and 6 regression penalty on failed skill checks for repair and healing actions. Huntress Lullaby grows in power each time you hook a survivor, getting 1 token and affecting repair and healing skill checks. 1 token is negative 14% for the warning sound to skill check. It'll go boom, and then the skill check comes up. 5 tokens is no warning sound at all. It's immediately just a skill check. You just have to be constantly looking at it. You can't really watch your surroundings, which is good in theory, but when I first played this game, somebody was running it and I got destroyed, but ever since then, it's pretty much a non-factor. Like, once you get even remotely good at hitting skill checks, it's pretty much no problem. I think there's some things they could do to fix it, and they really need to, because I would have to guess it's the least used hex perk in the whole game, and like, it can be used to make some fun meme builds, but other than that, I mean, I would rather have pretty much any other hex perk over that one. Alright, next up is one of my favorites. And it's a really good if you're playing like new killers you want to try out that you're not that good with, but you don't want to lose crazy amount of rank. The next one comes in real handy for that. It's obviously Hex No One Escapes Death. A Hex rooting its power on hope. You're animated by the power of your Hex totem when the survivors are on the verge of escaping. Once the exit gates are powered, if there's a dull totem remaining on the map, Hex No One Escape Death activates and lights it, increasing your movement speed by 4%. Survivors suffer from a permanent exposed status effect. Obviously, if there's no dull totems active, like if they've all been destroyed, it won't activate, which never happens. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know if I've never had that happen. Every time I use it, it's activated. No one. Oh yeah, and a little way to kind of like pad it out and make it not as strong is it reveals its aura of the Hex totem within 4 meters, and then it gradually expands to 24 meters over the next 30 seconds. Oh yeah. I gotta rank it. No one escapes death. Easy S tier for me. Absolutely. Up next is Hex Plaything. A hex that toys with the victim's suffering. If there's at least one dull totem remaining in the trial grounds, Hex Plaything activates on a random totem each time a survivor is hooked for the first time. The hooked survivor suffers from cursed and oblivious status effects until Plaything is cleansed. For the first 90 seconds, only the cursed survivor is able to cleanse the Hex totem. The aura of Hex Plaything's totem is revealed to the cursed survivor within 16 meters. The Hex effects persist until its Hex totem is cleansed. So basically, you just get cursed and oblivious status effects, and for 90 seconds, only the person who was hooked, who created the totem, can cleanse it. It could be really cool for, like, to combine with, like, Hex Pentimento, maybe, but, oblivious isn't really that strong. I'd put it like C, yeah. It's alright, it's not awful, but it's not great by any means. Next is Hex Retribution. A hex that lashes out upon its destruction. Those who cross you will be punished. Survivors cleansing or blessing any totem will suffer from the oblivious status effect for the next 45 seconds. After cleansing or blessing a totem, the auras of all survivors are revealed to you for 15 seconds. So that one's pretty good. So you could run this with, you could have 4 hex perks and get this for a total. You could have a total of 45 seconds of seeing survivors' auras if they cleanse every other perk first. But yeah, that's a pretty good one. A really decent little information perk. I'd definitely put it around. I'd put that at A. That's pretty solid for sure. Being able to see and all that stuff. Up next is Hex Ruin. I think this one's just pretty obvious. Well, it did get nerfed. Do I want to put it at S still? That's a tough one. That's debatable. It's good. A hex that affects the generator repair progress of all survivors. When a generator is not being repaired by a survivor, it will immediately and automatically regress to repair progress of 50, 75, 100% of the normal regression speed. Once any survivor is killed by any means, Hex Ruin deactivates and reverts its hex totem into a dull totem. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Leave it at A tier because it got nerfed from 200% down to 100%, and then once you kill somebody, it's gone. I mean, that's a decent way to counter it, to like balance it out, just like Noed, but not as great as it used to be. Up next is Hex the Third Seal. A hex that hinders the survivor's aura reading abilities. The last 4 survivors hit with either your basic attack or special attack suffer from the blindness status effect. I mean, that one's pretty decent. I don't think I've ever seen anybody run it. But, you know, if you have like a crazy survival with friends that you're going against, or just people are using a lot of aura reading abilities, I could see that being really good. But just, there's more powerful hex perks you could use. So I'd put it down here at C. Like, it's alright. I mean, it's less than alright. Up next is Hex Thrill of the Hunt. A hex rooting its power on hope. The false hope of survivors fills you with excitement and strengthens your totems. For each totem remaining in the environment, Hex Thrill of the Hunt gains 1 token. Survivors suffer from a stackable 10% action speed penalty per token to Cleansing and Blessing, up to a maximum of 50%. So, I mean, that's pretty good, you know, if you're running like a hex heavy run. It grants a stackable 10% bonus blood points for the actions in the Hunter category, up to a maximum of 50%. Other than that, it's, you know, it just slows down the totem blessing speed by like 50% at max. It's not great by any means. Like, it's not crazy. I'd put it at C. And then Hex Undying. This is a pretty good one. A hex which maintains the vile powers that flow throughout the trial. The auras of survivors within 4 meters of any dull totem are revealed to you. When another perk's hex totem is cleansed or blessed, the hex is transferred to that new Hex Undying totem, including any accumulated tokens, disabling Hex Undying instead. So this one's pretty cool. If you're running a perk like Devour Hope or Ruin, you know, perks like that, I would definitely have. Hex Undying is almost a must bring if you're running hex perks to begin with, unless you're really good at defending the perk, just because you can see them when they're near dull totem, so you know if they're going to bless a totem, or just the simple fact that if they happen to find your Ruin in the first 20 seconds, which happens to me every single time, basically, you get a second chance. So I would definitely say that's up there at A tier as well. I'm not sure what that one is. The trivia: Hex No One Escapes Death and Hex Plaything are the only hex perks that can be prevented from ever activating by cleansing all 5 totems before their activation conditions are met. Oh, okay. Oh, wait. We didn't do Pentimento, did we? Pentimento wasn't on that list. That's got to be what that is. Why does this not have Pentimento? Yeah, okay, that is Pentimento. I don't know why that wasn't on there. But yeah, I kind of feel that way sometimes with hex perks, because Hex Pentimento is a unique perk belonging to the artist. You reveal the true power of the totems hidden within their remains. You can perform a ritual on a cleansed totem to resurrect it as a rekindled totem. For each rekindled totem active at the same time, Hex Pentimento gains an additional effect. And this one's pretty crazy. The first token decreases all survivors' repair speed by 30%, which is incredible. That immediately takes it from... Let me bust out a calculator here, because it's 90 seconds to repair a gen. 90 times 0.3. That adds an extra 27 seconds to each generator. So that takes your total repair time from 90 seconds to 117 seconds. That's huge. That's almost 2 minutes. Decreases the second token. Oh, my bad. It's totems. The first totem, because you got to rekindle a destroyed totem. The first totem decreases all survivors' repair speed by 30%. The second totem decreases all survivors' healing speed by 30%. The third totem decreases all survivors' recovery speed from being down by 30%. The fourth totem decreases all survivors' exit gate opening speed by 30%. And then the fifth totem, all totems are permanently blocked by the entity. Now, if I had the artist unlocked, which I probably will in the future, just to try and run this with Hex Plaything and Hex Pentimento, I think that would be a really devastating combo, because you would need... What would you need? How many start on the map to begin with? 4 or 5? If you could rekindle 1, that's a huge task. I wonder if it's ever been... I wonder if all 5 totems have ever been lit. I'm sure it has at some point. You need Hex Undying. Hex Undying, Hex Pentimento, and Hex Plaything. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. You'd have to get really lucky, needless to say. And the first most important one is, and thank goodness they put it as the first totem decreases repair speed by 30%. Because, yeah, all the other ones, you might get one. You could get one pretty easily, I think. Two, it's But you just run, you could easily get 2 to 3 with Hex Plaything. But if you're just running Hex Pentimento by itself, you could easily get 1 as long as you're running another perk. So you could have Hex Ruin and then Hex Pentimento instead of 100% slower speeds, gen speeds, or regressing at 100% slower, then you just have 30% slower repair speed. But yeah, I would put this at, do I want to do S? No, I'll do A. Because 30% slower speeds, an extra 30 seconds almost to the generator. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. That can buy you a lot of time. But that's all the Hex perks ranked. Let's go ahead. That's all the perks ranked. You can click off if you want. I'm just talking about what I would do to fix Lullaby. So 5 tokens. 5 tokens is too much. I think you should take it down to 4 tokens. Yeah, take it down to 4 tokens. 4 tokens is the no warning sound. The penalty, 6%. It should be 10%. So 10%. So that means if you fail a skill check, well, I don't know. That's kind of huge. If you miss a skill check and you lose the base 10% and then 10% on top of that, that'd be 20%. Nah, that's too much. I like that, 6%. So each failed skill check is 16% you miss, which is huge, actually. I mean, that's really good. But the problem is you just don't miss. People just don't miss that skill checks. Either you need to double the speed of the thing going around to hit the skill check, because it has its set speed. But I think, and I know there's perks that make it faster and make it harder and stuff like that you can run together, but I think this itself, it's a Hex totem, and it can be wiped off the face of the earth before you even get 1 token. So I think it should either make the skill check smaller by like 50%. So you got the little great zone and then the bigger good zone. I would take the good zone down to like half. Even then, that probably wouldn't be enough. Maybe just do the great area. Or maybe by each token, it gets smaller and smaller. So by the 4th token, you can only hit the perfect skill check. Nah, because that would be too hard. That would be too hard. No warning, and you have to hit the perfect skill check. It is a Hex totem, though. Maybe a little bit bigger of a perfect zone. Like, you take the perfect zone, get rid of the good zone, just do the perfect zone, make it just a little bit bigger, like 5% bigger, and just have that. So that way, 4 tokens, you only need to hook 4 people. They get no more skill checks. Speed up the skill check. It goes a little bit faster, and it's a little bit harder to hit. And I think you could take this thing up from D to like B tier, even A maybe. But as it stands right now, it's by far the worst Lullaby perk. I personally would do a complete rework of it. Like, get rid of all of this. Like, the concept's good, but I would move this into another perk. Like, make another Hex perk and rework it as it's like it's a lullaby. It's a song that, people, like a mother will sing to their child to get them to sleep and be comfortable. So I think it should do something. It would make more sense if the perk did something along the lines of it puts you into like a sleep state type deal, kind of like Freddy Krueger's thing, except for, not as OP. I mean, but it just basically, it just puts you into kind of like a sleep state thing where you can wake up out of it if you cleanse the totem, but it's like, I don't know, negative 10%, negative 15% to all action speeds, and then like 10% or 5% negative 10% to all action speeds, and then a negative 5% extra penalty for missing a skill check. No. I would do negative 15% to all action speeds. I would do negative 15% to all action speeds, and then no red stain and no terror radius. But she'd still have the lullaby, because the lullabies obviously aren't going to go away because they're throwing stuff. But the fact is, it's the Huntress's lullaby, and it's supposed to calm. A lullaby is supposed to calm a person down, so it should remove the terror radius because it's calming the survivors, and it should remove the terror radius and the red stain. The red stain. So all that would be left for the killer would be, it's basically just the undetectable status effect until you get rid of the totem. I mean, yeah, no red stain, no. This would actually make killers who aren't stealthy at all become stealthy and give them another way to play, because you pretty much can't play stealthy at all except for with specific killers. So yeah, negative 15% to all action speeds, or negative 10% to all action speeds, and then remove the terror radius, like the chase music and the red stain. Obviously, Huntress and Trickster will still keep their lullabies, but that's it. That's how I'd totally rework that perk. I think that'd be a lot better. It would allow you to actually stealth and get some hits off. So that does it for my tier list for the Hex perks. I would do a tier list for all the perks, but 190s, or like 100 killer perks is kind of crazy. I don't have that much time. I only got like a year. I only got like, I don't know, a couple hundred hours maybe. I only got like a couple hundred hours in this game, like 600-700. So yeah, I haven't used nearly enough perks to rank them all. I've used all the Hex perks pretty much, except for Pentimento and Plaything. So, but yeah, that does it for this one. Let me know what you guys think of the Hex perks. Let me know what you guys would do to fix the Huntress Lullaby Hex perk, because that's by far the weakest one in the game, I think, in my opinion. But that does it for this one. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.